And today's session is just one of the broader initiative that we are going to run from today through December. We take a break and continue in 2025. And we want to explore the cutting edge advancement in artificial intelligence and how it can be integrated in education, how it can be used by educators, by teachers, by lecturers, and even non-teachers to actually affect our lives, inform what we do, and for teachers to inform lifelong learning. And therefore, this evening, we want to listen to one Mr. Richard. Richard comes from Technical University of Kenya. And ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Richard Onyango by giving a brief about him. He is a seasoned software engineer with 20 years experience in financial procurement, HR and payroll and education management system. He has also integrated AI in these systems. Richard has experience also in how to develop softwares. So we say he is a full stack software developer, and now he can embed AI in his work. He holds a master's degree in computer technology from Technical University of Kenya, bachelor's degree in computer technology from the same university, and he is pursuing his PhD. He is also an Amazon certified cloud architect. And therefore, I want to say we are in very safe hands as we talk about artificial intelligence. I want to also introduce CPA Dr. Leonard Wakoli, who is going to serve as the discussant tonight. Leonard holds a PhD in IT security and audit from JOUST, a Master of Science in software engineering, a Bachelor of Science in math and computing from JQuat, a postgraduate diploma on management and information systems from Greenwich University, and a diploma in education science, specializing in maths and physics from the defunct Kenya Science Teachers College. He is also a certified accountant. He has served as a vice chair of the Computer Society of Kenya. Leonard is also a GIS expert and holds a postgraduate diploma in information systems. The two gentlemen hold a very diverse CV, very experienced in IT, and well-grounded in artificial intelligence. And allow me to welcome them on board. Wherever you are, just show a sign of applaud for the two gentlemen, and allow me to usher in now Leonard, who will now in turn usher in Richard as we get started. Leonard, to you, a word of welcome to Richard so that he can get started. And just before that, I think from Diversity Education Institute, we are represented by Alphonse Furuma. Professor Alphonse Furuma, wherever you are, just say hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, members. May we get started. Leonard, to you.
Okay, he's joining shortly. He's joining us shortly.
Okay, if he is here to join, then I think Richard, may I welcome you on board, and feel free to walk us through this animal called llama and its relevance to education. Most welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. Let me take this opportunity to introduce Richard Keller, who is going to be our main speaker this evening. Richard is basically a full stack software developer with over 20 years experience.
I've given the profile. Leonard, I've already given the profile.
Okay, fine. Fine, that's
Okay.
fine. So I think, Richard, you can just, you're most welcome, ready to go. You can take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Prof. Thanks, both Professor Catherine, Professor Alphonse, and Dr. Wakoli. As you have heard, my name is Richard, so I don't think I'll focus so much on my qualifications, so I think I'll jump into that straight away. So basically, about me, you heard, so let's go deep into what the topic of discussion is today, which is Introduction to LLAMA 3.1 and its relevance to education. So I'll start by letting us understand what LLAMA 3.1 is and how it impacts on education. Now, LLAMA 3.1 is a state-of-the-art open source large language model, which has been developed by Meta. Meta is the mother company of Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. So Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp are owned by a company called Meta, and they have come up with an open source large language model. We're going to look at what large language models are in a short while, which now is a portion of AI that allows us to be able to design versatility in various applications, and especially those components that are concerned with natural language processing. Natural language processing is allowing computers to have capabilities to behave like a human, like it is able to read text and it is able to get speech, read it as text, then convert that text back to speech and vice versa. So that is what NLP is all about, and we're going to look at it in detail. Now, why LLAMA 3.1? This is because it aims at improving the interaction between humans and machine, making technology more accessible and efficient. If you have seen from where we have come from, previously in the past, we had chatbots, which were not very efficient in terms of how they're responding to the environment and things like that. But with the advent and changes in the AI space at the moment, you realize that a lot of things have changed, and you're going to see how that has affected the development of the education sector. Now, in terms, in terms of relevance in education, LLAMA 3.1 has the potential to transform learning experiences by personalizing education, enhancing engagement, and supporting diverse learning needs, which is essentially what we want to discuss within the next 1 hour. So that is just a brief introduction of what LLAMA 3.1 is. Now, for us to discuss LLAMA 3.1, we said it is a large language model. So large language model don't stand alone. So we start from a very large perspective, which is artificial intelligence. Now, what is artificial intelligence? Now, artificial intelligence is, artificial intelligence is where we allow computers, or we teach computers, we train computers to be able to do things similar to how human can do. And this involves things like reasoning, learning, problem solving, perception, and even language understanding. Now, if you look at AI, it encompasses various approaches such as role-based systems, machine learning, and also things to do with deep learning. And at the end of the day, it aims to create systems that can autonomously adapt to new inputs and solve complex problems in range of fields like healthcare, robotics, finance, education, and so forth and so forth. So AI is the bigger picture, the development of these machines or computer systems which allow us to perform tasks that are typically require human intelligence. And as I've mentioned, besides just intelligence, these would be things like reasoning, problem solving, perception, language understanding. They could also be motor skills if they are required, and so forth and so forth. So that is the outer box, which is artificial intelligence. Now, let's look at machine learning. What is machine learning? Machine learning is a subset of AI which allows or rather that involves training machines to learn from data and improve their performance on tasks without being explicitly programmed. Now, what does that mean? When we are writing our computer applications or our systems or our software, there are two paths that you can take. For example, let's say I want to compute tax, like pay as you earn. Now, when it comes to rules for computing pay as you earn, I will have the gross salary. Then from the gross salary, I have allowable deductions, things that the government allows me to remove from the gross salary before I subject it to tax. Then whatever remains, which is the taxable income, I subject it to a tax bracket. Then once I get the tax that has been charged, then there are things like reliefs, which I am allowed to deduct from that tax that has been charged. Then finally, I end up with the pay as you earn. Now, if I was to do a program that does that, those steps have to be followed in exactly that particular order. That's what we're calling explicit programming. You are telling the computer exactly what it needs to do. Now, when it comes to machine learning, we do not program computers exclusively. Rather, what we do is we give it data, and based on that data, it is able to make decisions on exactly what it needs to do. Take an example of a self-driving car, for example. What you do is you tell it how to read the lane markings, you give it a camera to be able to identify objects, you give it LiDAR to be able to calculate distances and infrared, and so forth and so forth. So there's quite a bit of hardware that we give it, which makes it be able to collect a lot of data. Then using that data, it can be able to make a decision, whether to drive, whether to stop, whether to take a turn, and all these kinds of stuff. So that is basically what machine learning is all about. Training machines to learn from data and improve on their performance on tasks without explicitly programming them. Now, machine learning models identify patterns in the data, and they make predictions or decisions based on this data. Now, algorithms such as decision trees, support vectors, neural networks, and so on and so on, are used to be able to perform these tasks. I'm not going to get into the details of these particular components, but essentially that's what this is all about. Then on the inner box, we have what we call deep learning. Now, deep learning is a more advanced subset of machine learning, which uses what we call artificial neural networks, which has many layers, hence the word deep. And as such, these networks are able to exchange data from one point to another. So I'll have the outer layer accepting data, processing it, taking it to an inner layer, which can also expand it to other layers, and so forth and so forth. Now, if these networks are inspired by the human brain and are highly effective in complex tasks like image recognition, speech processing, natural language understanding, and so forth and so forth. So in short, deep learning models will require large amounts of data and computational resources, but they excel at tasks with high dimensional data such as computer vision, autonomous driving, and so forth and so forth. So we have quite a bit of architecture as far as deep learning is concerned, but I'm not going to go that deep. What I wanted us to understand is we are coming from artificial intelligence, then you're moving into machine learning. Then from machine learning, we go to a subset called deep learning, and then we go into what we're referring to as LLMs, or large language models. So a large language model is a type of a deep learning model, which is often based on the transformer architecture. Now, when we are looking at some of the principles or the foundations of LLAMA 3.1, you'll realize that it's actually a large language model. So being a large language model means that it is based on transformer architecture. What does transformer architecture mean? It means that it takes some sort of data, it transforms it into things we call tokens or nodes, then it passes the nodes and it is able to perform things similar to how human beings understand language. Now, they are trained on a massive data set containing billions of words, as we're going to see in a short while when we're discussing LLAMA 3.1. Now, these models are designed to understand, generate, and manipulate human language to mimic natural communication, which essentially is what LLAMA 3.1 is all about. So this particular diagram that we are discussing here should be able to reinforce for us exactly what a large language model is. It is part of artificial intelligence dealing with machine learning, and it encompasses deep learning in a sense that we are going to use multiple nodes, take data, distribute it in multiple nodes, make a decision out of that data very, very fast. So it means that we're going hardware-wise, we have quite a lot of clusters of computers that are running these nodes to be able to make the decision that we have, similar to a human brain. So that is, in a nutshell, what we want to discuss as far as this discussion goes. So now, what is LLAMA 3.1? We have talked about large language models, but we have not talked about LLAMA 3.1. LLAMA 3.1 is a large language model which is designed to understand and generate human-like text. So as you have said, it's been developed by Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. And part of the LLAMA series by Meta, it features an enhanced architecture for superior performance. If you compare it with the previous version, it has improved in great strides. For example, as we're going to look at the foundation models, now it supports what we call multimodal data, which means it can accept different types of data. It can take images, it can take text, it can take tables and graphs, it can take music videos or multimedia component, and so forth and so forth. So part of that series has enhanced architecture for superior performance. Now, it's also capable of performing various tasks, including answering questions, which you're going to demonstrate, summarization, translation, and even content generation. Again, this is going to be based on natural language processing. There are other things like image generation, things like video generation, and so forth, object identification, voice recognition, and so on. All these things are not really part of LLAMA 3.1, but it can be enhanced with other libraries to be able to have these capabilities in place. Now, what are some of the key characteristics of LLAMA 3.1? It's scalable, it's efficient, and adaptable to a variety of educational contexts, which you're going to see what we mean by all those three components: scalability, efficiency, and adaptability. So this is just a brief introduction of what LLAMA 3.1 is. Now, LLAMA 3.1 comes in three models. Now, the models are the 8B, the 70B, and the 450B. Now, what these B means are basically the parameters that are built, that were used to build the model. So the smallest one, which is the fastest, is LLAMA 3.1, 8 billion. So it has 8 billion parameters. It is moderately accurate, but again, when you're talking about things like research or virtual assistants and all that, then it might not work so well. It is fast. If you are using it in things like chatbots or educational tools like circuit diagram designs or generating poems and things like that, then it is actually very, very efficient. Now, in terms of resource requirements, it's moderate. It requires moderate computational power, which makes it relatively fast, as we have seen. So 8 billion parameters, moderately accurate, and use cases include things like chatbots and educational tools. Then we have LLAMA 3.1, 70 billion, which is highly accurate. It can be used in complex scenarios, which require nuanced understanding and advanced research analysis. For example, things like virtual assistants. And again, as you can see, in terms of computational resources, it's a bit higher compared to the LLAMA 8B, in the sense that we're talking about 70 billion parameters from 8 billion, which is almost 10 times the size. Then we have LLAMA 3.1, 450 billion. This is exceptionally accurate, and it requires a lot, highly computational power. This is, we're talking clusters of servers or computers, something similar to what ChatGPT is offering us and all that. Now, the good thing is that it has cutting-edge applications in AI and research, and it can be used in areas like things like DNA sequencing, disease identification. It can be used for weather patterns and all these complex kinds of stuff. So depending on the accuracy and the computational resources you have, you will be able to pick either of these particular models. By the way, you can run them on your computer, but that is highly inadvisable, as you're going to see when I try to run it locally from my computer. The experience is not going to be that good, especially if you don't have a very powerful computer. So let's look at the key features of LLAMA 3.1. One of them is improved accuracy. It is more precise in terms of text generation and comprehension, leading to better educational outcomes. If you want to compare LLAMA 3.1 with LLAMA 3.0, you realize that moving from 3.0 to 3.1, this thing has improved tremendously in terms of its accuracy, in terms of text generation, and even comprehension when you give it the prompts. It tries to understand the prompts much, much better. Then there's what we call enhanced reasoning. It is capable of logical deductions, making it suitable for complex problem solving in STEM education. Now, it is able to understand things like computer coding, it's able to understand circuits, it's able to understand mathematics, and basically all the sciences that are there in place. I can ask it to demonstrate for me how titration takes place, and it does it flawlessly. So enhanced reasoning is the other key feature that LLAMA 3.1 comes with. Then we have context awareness. It understands and generates contextual relevant responses, improving interaction with educational settings. So if I was talking about series connection, and I'm talking about physics, it is able to contextualize series connection with respect to physics. Now, if I'm talking about time series, as far as statistics is concerned, it is also able to tell the difference between series in terms of statistics and series as far as physics circuit diagrams are concerned. So that context awareness feature of LLAMA 3.1 has really greatly improved its use, especially in terms of education in an educational setting. Then the fourth key feature of LLAMA 3.1, we're talking about key features, not all of them. These are the key features that came with 3.1 from 3.0 are multimodal capability. This means that it supports integration with images, audios, videos, and even things like text-based documents, offering richer educational experience. So I can basically draw a circuit diagram by hand, take a photo of it, then using a separate library, I can be able to pick that image, integrate it into LLAMA, and it is able to understand what that circuit is all about. This is actually very, very powerful as far as LLAMA is concerned. Now, let's look at some of the foundational principles of LLAMA 3.1. Of course, one of them is transformer architecture. It is built on the transformer model for effective language understanding and generation. What does transformer mean? Transformer means that I'll be able to take a text, then it transforms it into a prompt that it understands. So I'll be able to speak with it naturally. Then after speaking with it naturally, it will take whatever I have spoken, convert into text, then take that particular text and transform it into what the model actually understands. Like, for example, what are the keywords? How many tokens are there? How do I shorten the text if it is too long? And so forth and so forth. So it does all these things on its own transparently from the user, and that works very, very well in the background, and that's that is what gives it the power that it has in terms of searching and being able to give you accurate and correct information. Then it's also based on unsupervised learning. Remember, I'd mentioned that we have large language models, but before large language models, or rather still as part of the large language models, we were talking about types of training. You can have three types of learning. We have supervised learning, where models will learn from labeled data. So labeled data means I'll take a photo and I'll tell the model this is a car, this is a table, this is a bag, and so on and so forth. Then I give it several images of bags and pens and tables. Then if I give it a different photo and ask it to identify, based on the data that I gave it before and I label the data, it should be able to tell me what this is. Is it a bag, a table, or a cup? That is supervised learning. But again, LLAMA is based on unsupervised learning, which means the model learns from unlabeled data, finding hidden patterns. These hidden patterns could be things like customer classification or categorization. Are these wholesalers or retailers? It can check the components, things like, are these mathematical set elements, or are these time series components, and so forth and so forth. So LLAMA is based on that unsupervised learning. So you give it unlabeled data, then it tries to find patterns within those particular sets of data. That's how LLAMA 3.1 works as far as unsupervised learning is concerned. Then there's what we call task generalization. It is capable of performing tasks without needing extensive fine-tuning for each specific task. For example, right now, I can start off LLAMA and we start discussing mathematics and trigonometry. And it will be able to keep that particular context until I move into something else. So I don't need to fine tune it in terms of a specific task. I can jump from one task to another, and it is able to tell that comfortably that I have now moved from maths, now I am into physics, then I'm going back to biology, and so forth and so forth. So that's the other foundational model. Now, why is LLAMA 3.1 important in education? One, of course, is personalized learning, because it can adapt to content, it can adapt content to individuals, students who need facilitating different instructions. I can see there's a message from Alex. He's asking the administrator to work on the participants. There are so many people who are not able to join. Professor Alphonse kindly address that as we carry on. Okay, so we were discussing why is LLAMA 3.1 important in education, and we started talking about personalized learning. So LLAMA 3.1 adapts content to individual student needs, facilitating differentiated instructions. Now, this is important because everybody has their own learning habit. People have preferences in terms of how best they can be able to understand different concepts. Some people love games, some people love grades, some people love quizzes, some people love tests, and so on and so on. So when it comes to LLAMA 3.1, I can actually explain, I can actually ask it for a prompt and ask it to give me different contents depending on specific needs of my students, or rather, depending on the interest of a student. If I interact with the model and it understands that I like dealing with charts and tables very more often than not, then most likely when it's giving me examples, it's going to try to base it on that particular element that I love. So if I'm not very good with games, it will try to avoid games. But if I'm very comfortable with games, it will try to, give me more examples on the gaming side of things as far as the training is concerned. So personalized learning, which means that it's able to facilitate different instructions, differentiated instructions for each individual student's needs. Of course, depending on the complexity, depending on the speed, and also the understanding of the student, it is able to gauge how much content should be churned out to the student. Then there's scalability. This means that it can be implemented in classrooms of all sizes, making it accessible for both rural and urban settings. Again, because the only thing I need is maybe a tablet or a computer which has access to the internet and probably runs HTML5, all of us can be able to access the same content regardless of geographical location. Of course, the restriction being I have the hardware that enables me to access the service and I have the connectivity. But in terms of scalability, it can be scaled in all sizes. You can use it in urban centers, you can use it in rural areas, and so forth and so forth. So there is no restriction in terms of implementation. Then engagement, the other reason why it's important. Okay, thanks, Professor Catherine. The other reason why LLAMA is important in education is engagement. It has interactive AI tools which can increase student motivation and interest in subject. As I've mentioned above, based on the differentiated instructions, some people love games, some people love quizzes, some people love tests, some people love practicals, and everybody has their own interests. So all these things put into place, LLAMA integrating with other libraries can be able to give us this variety of interactive tools, which enables, increases student motivation and interest in the subjects. Then there's the element of assessment and feedback. It can also provide real-time insights into student performance, allowing for immediate adjustments to teaching strategies. Again, I can't be able to tell that a particular student is struggling with certain topics, other students are very fast in other topics, or all the students don't actually have an idea of what this topic is all about, based on how the AI model has been able to, try to give them things like test, or play games with them, or even try to gauge exactly the understanding as far as assessments are concerned. So assessment and feedback is a very important factor in AI, and specifically LLAMA 3.1, because each and every particular student, the model is able to aggregate or average what these students are all about. That's why that's the importance of LLAMA. So let's look at the role of LLAMA 3.1 in various parts of the education. We're going to start with early childhood education, then you're going to go to junior school, then probably even college, because the whole issue here is we want to be able to understand the role of LLAMA 3.1 in education. So let's start with early childhood education. Its role is on tailored content creation. So here we can develop age-appropriate learning materials that can cater for varying literacy levels. So for example, if I just wanted to teach nursery school students how to pronounce letters of the alphabet, I can use LLAMA to be able to generate letters of the alphabet. I can make it a little bit more interesting in terms of attaching pictures to the numbers, to the letters rather. Then I can also tell it to using text to voice. I can actually ask it to read it aloud so that the students, the learners, can be able to know the pronunciation of the words and so on and so forth. So this is basically tailored content creation. You can be able to develop age-appropriate learning materials, which will cater for the varying literacy needs as far as the early learners are concerned. Then there's also interactive storytelling. We can use AI to create engaging narratives that promote reading and comprehension skills. Again, generative AI can be able to generate stories. I mean, sometimes some of them might not be very accurate, but of course, they'll try their level best to come up with stories, and based on the library of content it has, they can customize a few stories here and there, which will promote reading and comprehension skills as far as students are concerned. So I can tell LLAMA, for example, I can give it a prompt and ask it, I want you to generate for me content for grade 1 students, and I want you to be able to discuss about stars and maybe create a song for the stars or things like that. So it is actually able to do that. And if you have even more advanced models like the 4 or 5B, it can even go ahead and create the music bits for you, which go along with the storytelling comprehension that you've just created. Then also we have AI tutors. It can act as a supplemental education resource for young learners, providing support in safe and interactive manner. Again, things like playing games, where I can say students are given a game and they can be able to punch the letters of the alphabet, and or they're asked to read, and it reads them back to them based on whether they were right or wrong, or depending on the pronunciation that it was expecting and you didn't get. So it can actually act as an AI tutor, which provides a safe environment for these young learners. So these are some of the roles that LLAMA 3.1 can play in early childhood education. Now let's look at LLAMA 3.1 in STEM education. Now we have said that right now it is context sensitive and it has been enhanced, which means it is able to understand sciences, mathematics, engineering, computer coding, and so on and so on. So in terms of its applicability in STEM education, it can help in problem-solving assistance, offering guidance on mathematical problems and scientific concepts. Now, if you as we have said, I can write a formula on a piece of paper, then I take a photo of that particular formula. Then using LLAMA 3.1 and of course computer vision, I can be able to read that formula. Then LLAMA is able to understand I'm talking about integration, and maybe talking about integrating a number from X to Y using a particular formula and so on and so on. And then it's able to explain that to me and also give me further examples on how that works out. So that is problem-solving assistant. You actually assist your students in being able to solve complex mathematical or scientific problems. Then there's real-time feedback. Here, we want to provide instant feedback on the student work, helping them to reinforce learning and understanding. Again, as you have said, once I pick this formula and I'm able to translate what it means, and I'm able to give examples and also give other relevant tests that the learner can be able to do. This is real-time feedback, and this is very important because it's real-time. I take that particular photo, I ask it to translate it for me, it does the job, and it gives me the feedback in real time, and I can also interact with that feedback as I move along. Maybe I don't understand what pi is, so go ahead further and explain to me what pi is as far as this integration is concerned. Or maybe how do I differentiate these angles in terms of radians and degrees and so on and so on. I can actually prompt it, and it is able to give me that real-time feedback even as it is moving along with its problem-solving assistance. Then there's what we call adaptable learning path. Here, it adjusts difficulty levels based on student performance, fostering mastery of STEM subject. Again, as you have mentioned, it starts simple, and of course, basing on the understanding of the student, it creates an adaptable learning path for each particular student. There are those who are very, very fast, there are those who are very, very slow, there are those who are average. So each and every student can be able to learn the STEM subject at their own pace fostering mastery of the subject. So that's the role of LLAMA 3.1 in STEM education. Let's look at LLAMA 3.1 in junior school. One is customization of learning materials. Now here, you can tailor resources to address local curriculum needs and student demographics. Again, this will involve training the model and giving it a lot of data depending on how we want it to be able to tailor or to customize the training for these particular learners. Again, using the model, we can still use it as is, but if we train it further and give it data that it should be able to work with, then we can be able to allow it to customize or to tailor resource to address those local curriculum needs and the student demographics as they are. Then there's also addressing challenges. They help bridge the gap in access to quality education, especially in undeserved areas. Remember, we have said that the only thing I need is a tablet or an internet connectivity, and all of us have access to the same quality of education. So long as we're using the same AI, it is able to know what my needs are, what the other person's needs are, and it is able to train us on an equal opportunity sort of kind of aggregation. So it addresses those challenges in terms of access. When it comes to references, it comes to books and all that, it is able to give them to us regardless of our geographical location or background or things like that, so long as we are accessing the exact same model based on the exact same data. Then it also fosters inclusivity. So LLAMA 3.1 as an AI component can assist teachers in providing equitable learning opportunities for all students. So whereas it's addressing challenges of underserved areas, it also creates equal opportunities. So we don't have the scenario where we have very good schools and we have very bad schools. It fosters inclusivity in that particular regard. Everybody becomes level as far as we are concerned. So then lastly is on personalized learning. We have adaptive learning systems. We can use AI algorithms to personalize lessons based on each student's progress. So again, as you have mentioned, depending on the difficulty level, depending on your understanding, depending on the grade or the topics that you're discussing, it can have adaptive learning. You can use the same model for different students, and it is able to tell where each and every student is. Then we have targeted intervention. It identifies areas where students struggle, enabling them to focus and support, enabling focused support and resources. So again, if I'm struggling so much with, say, calculus, it can be able to support me further on, it gives a targeted intervention on calculus. So give me more examples on calculus, train me further on calculus, try as much as you can, give me all the information that I need as far as calculus is concerned. Give me examples, give me games, give me tests, give me practices, read out aloud various principles that surround calculus and all that kind of stuff. So that is targeted intervention. Then we have what we call enhanced engagement. So here, it customizes learning experiences that align with student interest, boosting motivation and retention. So as I had mentioned before, if I am into games, you'll realize that the AI focuses more on games. When it tries to come up with principles, it tries to make them look like games. If I'm interested in quizzes, it tries to give me more quizzes. And if I'm interested more on things like illustrations and all that, it also tries to do the same. Again, I said LLAMA 3.1 is a large language model, which means that it works well with text. But it's multimodal, which means it can be integrated with other libraries, allowing it to do other things like image generation, natural language processing, voice recognition, and so forth and so forth. So when it comes to engagement, it will not work on its own, but it integrates with other libraries, giving us that rich experience depending on our areas of interest. Okay, then we have natural language processing in education. Natural language processing, I said, is the scenario where we are teaching computers to be able to understand language. Like, for example, I can just speak to my computer and tell it, hey, go to Google and search for X. It will simply open a browser, navigate to Google, then the search text, the search term, it will put there whatever I told it to process. That is natural language processing. Or alternatively, I have a very large book and I want it read the book aloud for me. I don't want to go through it. Maybe say it's a Bible and I want it to read a particular verse. So I can simply tell it, Okay, go to John 3:16 and read. You go to John chapter 3 and read verse 16. It will open the Bible, go to John chapter 3 and read verse 16 aloud, of course. That is natural language processing, either capturing data from us, that is from voice to text, and vice versa, from text to voice. So why is this important? Learning language learning support. It enhances vocabulary and comprehension through interactive exercises and conversational practice. So if I wanted to learn French, for example, French words don't sound like English. They're not even pronounced like, they're not even spelled like English, even in terms of pronunciation. So I can actually use natural language processing to be able to learn a different language. So here it will enhance my vocabulary and comprehension through interactive exercises and conversation. Remember, if I gave you the word L-E-A-D, somebody will read it as lead, which means you are in front of people and they're following you. Somebody else would read it as lead, which is some sort of a metal. All these things are the same in terms of spelling, but in terms of pronunciation, you can see they are a bit different, and that's where NLP comes in. Then automated assessments, AI evaluates written work for grammar and style, providing constructive feedback. Right now, we have things called spell checkers, and we have grammar checkers. How do you think they work? That is actually natural language processing. So besides just converting text to speech, they are able now to take whatever you've typed, look at the spelling, which is not usually hard because we have a dictionary in place. But when it comes to the grammar, it's not straightforward because speaking grammatically and spellings, those are two different things. So grammar is a bit difficult depending on the language that is in place. But again, we have automated assessment, which will be able to evaluate written work in terms of grammar and style, providing constructive feedback. Like maybe, for example, you replace the word this with these. You can write THIS instead of THESE, something like that, and it's able to correct for you. Grammatically, the sentence is going to be wrong, but if you look at spelling wise, this is actually a correct spelling. So that's where it comes in. Then you have multilingual support. It aids in teaching languages by providing real-time translation and conversational practices. Again, just enforcing on the first one, I can be able to type a phrase in French and it's able to read it out for me, or even translate it back to me in English. Then we have computer vision in education. Now, computer vision is where we're using things like cameras to be able to capture images, LiDAR, infrared, motion, things like that, motion sensors. So these are referred to as computer vision. We're trying to make the computer perceive its environment. It's able to sense. It has more like the sight sense of a person. Okay, so why is computer vision important in education? One is the interactive learning tools. It integrates visual recognition technologies for hands-on learning experiences. As I had mentioned, using a camera, I can take a photo of a design. Then I simply ask the computer to, write for me the code for that particular design. That one helps me a lot. Or I can take the photo of a plant and I tell the computer, identify for me this particular plant. It's able to identify for me the plant. Or I can give it a set of tools like mathematical set tools, and I ask it what each tool is used for. It's able to know that this is a protractor, this is a divider, this is a compass, and so forth and so forth. So that is integrates visual recognition technologies for hands-on learning experiences. And there are so many application areas. In electrical circuits, I can ask it to identify for me the various components. I even reverse engineer. So in this particular circuit, what does the IC components do? How is it interconnected? Reverse engineer it for me so that I'm able to understand exactly how this particular circuit board was built. So that is on hands-on learning. Then there's accessibility. It aids visually impaired students with AI-driven audio, and text-to-speech capabilities. So again, if you have visually impaired persons, we have screen readers, which will be able to read the content of the screen and also take input from a user, maybe something like a braille or something like that. Then it is able to translate it to what the computer understands. Sometimes they even get gestures. So I can gesture by, sign language and is able to understand the sign language from that perspective. That's where accessibility comes in with computer vision. Then there's environmental education. This promotes awareness of sustainability issues through AI projects that monitor ecological impact. Now, here we are using AI to be able to look at the environment. Probably we're looking at global warming, and maybe the AI has data from, say, 1920 to now, and it is telling us exactly how the temperatures have been increasing over time and what we could do best in terms of trying to maintain that particular environmental component. So again, some of this data is gotten over the internet. Some of it is based on how it is able to read or perceive the environment variables like the changes in soil erosion and things like that. So it is able to provide environmental education as far as computer vision is concerned. Again, as I said, it can be able to look at the patterns. Like, for example, if I'm looking at the different types of soils at the same place, I'm seeing that in some place I have very fine-grained soil, and in some other places it's very coarse. So it means that soil erosion must have taken place at this particular location. So it's able to advise on the same. So then we have what we call generative AI. Generative AI is what we call ChatGPT and the rest, where we simply go to the AI tool and it is able to generate content for us. So what is its use in education? We have creative expression. It encourages students to create arts, stories, and even music collaboratively with AI tool. If I'm very good with poems, I can simply ask the AI, I can prompt the AI model to be able to generate for me a poem based on some certain prompts. So I'll give it the prompts that I wanted to use to be able to give me a poem. Then there's also exploration of new ideas. In terms of generative AI, it provides a platform for experimentation, helping students think outside the box. So maybe I can tell it something like, you know, I want to be able to come up with an app that suggests for somebody names of plants. Where do I start? Now, it can be able to tell you, for you to do that, probably you'll need to, you know, gather sets of plants, then you get the scientific names versus their English names, then you look at the environment where they can be able to grow best, and all sorts of stuff. So that is exploration of a new idea. I can simply come up to it and tell it, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, Z. Guide me on the process of achieving the same. Then there's also what we call support for content creation. It assists in generating lesson plans and also education resources for teacher. Like, for example, if I wanted to train about convex mirrors, I can simply go to an AI model and ask it, I am a physics teacher in teaching secondary school students, and I want you to elaborate for me about light as a topic. It will be able to generate for you things like lesson plans, educational resources, and probably even things like diagrams, a few notes here and there that you can be able to modify and make your notes look nice and stuff like that. So that is the generative AI for creativity in education. That's where generative AI comes in. Remember, we've looked at different technologies. We looked at natural language processing, we've looked at computer vision, we've looked at now generative AI. So those are the areas, or those are the tools that you can be able to use to be able to apply as far as AI is concerned. And this is on all this applies for LLAMA 3.1. You can use different models, but LLAMA 3.1 would also be able to achieve the exact same things. So let's look at LLAMA 3.1 and data-driven insights. So besides computer vision, natural language processing, and generative AI, we have data-driven insights. For example, predictive analysis. It can analyze student data and focus academic outcomes and improve curriculum effectively. Again, AI has data. It can be able to forecast depending on the patterns that it has been able to read. Remember, we said that when it comes to large language models, they are based on unsupervised learning, which means they can look for patterns in data and make inference based on that data. And that's where predictive analysis comes in. Then we have performance dashboards. This one will provide educators with tools to visualize and track student progress over time. And dashboards technically contains mostly three types of data. We have information, what we want to see. How has this, what is the current state of this particular student? Are they a C student? Are they an A student? And so on and so forth. Then we have intervention information, the things, the alarms that we need to work with. maybe this student is not performing very well in sciences. They need to be able to be guided further on sciences, or maybe when it comes to music, their interest is not there, so probably they're not an arts person. So whoever is actually teaching them should be able to figure out that the interest is actually somewhere else. So those are performance dashboard, depending on whatever information you want to be able to see. Now, the metrics are going to be different depending on, of course, what you're looking at and the grades of students, and probably maybe even focus areas, like if it is STEM or art or things like that. Then you have targeted improvement plans. We can use insights to create strategies for underperforming students or schools. Again, depending on data that is available, we can be able to see students have not been performing very well in sciences, or they're performing very well in sciences, but when it comes to practical subjects, they're not really performing so well. So how can we be able to improve that? So it can be able to give you suggestions on how these can be implemented. So that's where now AI and data-driven insights comes in. You have data, then subject that data to AI, it is able to focus for you and make inferences for you depending on the data that is actually available at that point. So there's what we call also equity and inclusivity with LLAMA 3.1 as far as education is concerned. And here we want to bridge educational gaps. So here we want to target resources to assist marginalized or disadvantaged student population. Again, using AI, as you've mentioned, we're using the same platform. So long as we have the same connectivity and using the same, they might not be the same gadget, but using the same models, the experience should be more or less the same as far as bridging educational gaps are concerned. If there are physics practicals being done, naturally all the students will be able to get similar experiences as far as these virtual labs are concerned. Then we have support for diverse learners. Here, it allows us to adapt learning experiences for students with varying needs, including those with disabilities. Again, as you've mentioned, we have computer vision, which can be able to use the camera and take things like gestures. We have natural language processing, which can take dictated instructions and so on and so forth. So all these things can be able to be used by those learners who have some sort of disability, or they have some different needs that needs to be addressed. Then lastly, it promotes equity, which means that it ensures that all students have access to high quality education materials and support. So again, if we are operating from the same platform and we're reading the same data, then this promotes equity across all the students. So it don't say that there are some students who are advantaged because of the content that they're accessing, and others are disadvantaged based on the content that they're accessing. It promotes equity across board. Then environmental sustainability in education. We have eco-friendly projects. These ones encourage students to engage in sustainability initiatives through AI-led programs. For example, as I had mentioned, AI can be able to perceive the environment and check for things like soil erosion. So whenever we have soil erosion, AI can be able to provide some sustainability initiative, like for example, how do you safeguard against soil erosion? What are the best practices that you can be able to use to reduce soil erosion? What kind of crops do you want to grow to be able to control this soil erosion, or maybe even improve the quality of the soil or the ground or things like that? So these are eco-friendly projects which are AI-led programs. They are initiated by the AI programs themselves, depending on how they perceive on their environment. The other one is awareness campaigns. You can utilize AI to promote awareness of environmental issues among students. Now, how does this work out? How do you create awareness? Generative AI. You can ask AI to generate a poem for you on environmental sustainability, for example, and it will be able to do that very, very comfortably for you, and so forth and so forth. Then there's monitoring and impact. This one employs AI tools to track and assess the environmental impact of school activities. For example, again, we can be able to tell what kind of subjects do students learn in this particular school. Now, these subjects that they learn, what kind of materials do they need for these particular subjects? These materials that they need, are they in some way interfering with the environment? For example, if you're teaching people how to cook, and most of the time we're cooking with firewood, it means that it is able to monitor the number of trees that have been in the school compound, map them up with the activities that are being conducted in the school, and be able to advise us and tell us, well, there is a problem here in terms of these particular activities and how it is impacting on the environment. So all these things LLAMA 3.1 can actually enable us to be able to do when we implement it correctly. Then there is the scalability of LLAMA 3.1. One is flexible deployment. Now, LLAMA 3.1 is suitable for a range of educational environments from small classrooms to very large institutions. So what I'm trying to say is I can implement LLAMA 3.1 for a single subject like a virtual lab, or I can implement for a particular school, or I can still implement LLAMA 3.1 for the entire district or province or even the country in terms of sciences. Like right now, most of us are using ChatGPT. Well, it's a huge cluster of servers. Most of us don't even know where the servers are, but we know that if I go to chat.openai.com, I am able to go there and be able to find a few solutions here and there. Then there's remote learning. It's a post-online education initiative ensuring continuity of learning in diverse situations. Now we have areas that are affected by security. For example, there's a lot of insecurity. Like some places in Kenya, we have bandits all over the place. So schools are usually mostly the biggest target. So when it comes to remote learning, students can actually learn at home and get the similar experience as to what they would have gotten in school. Then we have adaptive integration. This can be tailored to fit different curricula and education standards worldwide. So in Kenya, if our sciences are being taught based on certain topics, and in other places like Uganda, they have different topics and so on and so on, all this can be adapted as far as the different curricula is concerned. That's where the scalability aspect of LLAMA 3.1 comes in as far as education is concerned. And this will just involve training the model to exactly what we want it to achieve. Then we have ethical considerations in an AI-powered education, because again, we're talking about artificial intelligence, LLAMA 3.1, and we at least now know what's the difference between the two of them. AI is the bigger brother. LLAMA 3.1 is a large language model, which is based on AI. So if we're talking about LLAMA 3.1, we're still talking about AI, even though we're talking about AI in a very refined space. So what are the ethical considerations in AI-powered education? One of them is transparency. We want to ensure that AI decision-making processes are clear and understandable for educators and students. This is very, very important. Remember, one of the challenges we have with AI is accuracy. So when you're talking about transparency, we want to make sure that AI decision-making processes are clear and understandable for educators and students. It does not veer off so much. Then there's the issue of data privacy. So we also want to make sure that we safeguard student information, ensuring compliance with privacy regulations. Like, for example, in Kenya, we have the Data Protection Act 2019. It has its own set of rules on how these things, if this data is supposed to be protected. If you're in the European Union, we have the GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulations. If you go to the US, we have a CCPA, or the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, amongst other laws. So we have different jurisdictions with different laws. So when it comes to data privacy, this AI should safeguard student information, ensuring compliance with these laws. Then there's bias mitigation. Now, AI is heavily based on data, and we all know that this data is not collected uniformly. There is heavy data collected from one end of the world, another heavy set of data collected in another end of the world. So we want to actively work to identify and correct biases in AI models to promote fairness and equality in education. So for example, and no offense intended, some people believe that black is associated with evil and white is associated with good. Then if you are training black children, then what are you telling them? This is the kind of bias that I'm talking about. When you're talking about bias mitigation, these are the kind of things that we want to make sure that we take care of as far as AI-powered education is concerned. So instead of using black or white, so maybe the AI would use something like gray instead, okay? Then we have plagiarism is another ethical consideration in an AI-powered education. Now, AI has made plagiarism a very easy thing. I can simply go take somebody's paper, put it on AI, tell it to refresh it and change a few things here and there, paraphrase it, then I submit it as my own original paper. And it happens not only in the education one, but also in publication. People in publication, I take somebody's story, I alter it a bit, then I publish it elsewhere. It looks like it's my original story, but of course, you might not be able to check plagiarism because the text is different, but of course, the premise is exactly the same. So these are some of the ethical considerations that you want to put in an AI-powered education. Then challenges of implementing LLAMA 3.1 in education. Some of the challenges that we'll encounter will include infrastructure needs. So here you want to require robust internet and technological infrastructure in schools, particularly in rural areas. I'm assuming this is if you want to either run it locally or if you want to use computers rather than tablets. It might require some very robust internet technological infrastructure in these schools to be able to achieve the same. But of course, I know right now we have Starlink in place, which makes that gap a little bit smaller. So again, depending on budgets that are available, infrastructure might not necessarily be a very big challenge, even though it is still a challenge for most of the places based on the budget constraints. Then you have training of the educators. It necessitates professional development for teachers to effectively integrate AI into the teaching practices. For example, we need to teach teachers how to be prompt engineers. You just don't go into an AI and tell it, I want you to generate this circuit, and it does it correctly. It might not be very accurate. So we need to train you on how to generate the prompts so that now the AI is able to think, for lack of a better word, as a human being or as a person, and is able to give you the results that are required. Then you have resistance to change. We want to address potential skepticism regarding AI and technology in traditional education systems. Now, most people believe that AI is here to replace us. Maybe that's not the case. AI is a tool. We are supposed to use it to advantage, just like you use a power saw or even a hammer or even a gas cooker. It's a tool that helps you to do work. So we want to make sure that we implement that resistance. We train people on how to use AI as a tool rather than them thinking of AI as their replacement. Okay? So up to this point, I want to demonstrate a few features of LLAMA 3.1. I had seen a question on the chat box that was asking if LLAMA is an app. LLAMA is not an app, it's a model. So what models do is that they have been designed to do things. But then for you to use that particular model, there has to be an environment that you will use it on so that it is able to give you what you require. Now, we'll have a few challenges depending on where you are on the world. The easiest way to have tested LLAMA would have been to go to your browser, then you open, let me just share my whole screen so that I'm able to demonstrate that. So for those who are in the US, in the UK, and all these other places, for you to access LLAMA directly and actually play around with it, you don't need to do anything on your computer. Simply go to meta.ai, sign in. Then after signing in, you will be able to use Meta directly. Now you can see it's telling me Meta isn't available in my country yet, so I cannot be able to use it directly from meta.ai. But if you're in the US, I believe you should be able to interact with it similar to how you interact with ChatGPT. Okay, so that is the constraint that I have within the environment that I'm operating on. Meta is currently not enabled in my environment. But that is not the end of the road, because what you could do is you can go to, there are tools that can allow you to be able to run LLAMA locally on your machine. One of those tools is called LLAMA. So LLAMA is an application which you can just download and install on your computer. Like you can see, I have for Mac, for Windows, and Linux. So literally, I can be able to download it, and it is able to allow me to run LLAMA as a model. So I have it installed already on my computer. So here I'll say Control-D. So I'll show you how to run it. If you want to run LLAMA on my computer, once it has been installed, if you open your browser and you simply just type localhost, then you put port. The port is 11. 434. right here, you can see it's telling you LLAMA is running. So that's once you install it, this is the only thing you need to do. Just go to your browser and type this address. It will be able to tell you that LLAMA is actually running. But this is not super useful because you might not be able to interact with it very, very well at this particular point. So I need to install something else, which is what we are referring to as a web interface. So in the install instructions, they'll also tell you exactly how to be able to do the, once you've downloaded it and you go to LLAMA, it will be able to tell you how to install the web interface, which is exactly what you need to do. So what I'm going to do is I have already installed one. So I have something called Docker as a container here. So this Docker has a container, which is this web UI that actually allows me to run LLAMA similar to how a web experience looks like. So if I click on this link over here, it will open for me LLAMA rather, in a new browser, as you can be able to see. Let me just make it 100% like that. So it gives me an experience that is similar to ChatGPT, as you can be able to see over here. And from here, I can now be able to interact with LLAMA effectively. Of course, before I interact with it, what I need to do is to say, LLAMA, run, then give it the model that you want to run, which in my case is LLAMA 3.1. Now, I have already installed it, so in my case, it was just going to run it. But in your case, if you have never installed it, it will first of all download it. Of course, it will ask you which version you want. Do you want the 8B, the 70B, or the 450B? Depending on the compute resources that you have in place, then it is able to download and run it like that. So here you can see this is a command line interface. I can actually interact with it from this point. And I'll give examples. One of the things that LLAMA 3.1 does is answering questions. So for example, I can ask it, what is the tallest building in the world? The world, like that. Now, spoiler, oh, sorry. I think I didn't share my entire screen. Let me just share my entire screen so that you're able to see that. Okay, share this. So I was running LLAMA here. I have run a few instructions at the top. So I ran this particular instruction, then it gave me this particular prompt where now I can be able to ask it exactly questions that it should be able to answer. So I've just asked it, what is the tallest building in the world? My computer is not that fast. This is LLAMA 3.1. It's about 4 gigabytes large. So you can see it's not as fast as ChatGPT, but you can see it's actually very, very accurate because it tells me as of 2021, which is the cutoff date for the data that it is currently using. Burj Khalifa is the largest building, is the tallest building in the world. And of course, it's going to give me a bit of stories and all that. So I can interact with LLAMA on the command prompt over here. But as I had mentioned before, we want to be able to interact with it from a user-friendly perspective. So the web interface is a much better experience for us. So from here, I can ask it the same question. What is the tallest building in the world? And it should be able, yeah, it's asking me for a model here. So I'll be able to pick LLAMA 3.1 at the top here. Then I'll just do that question again. And it should be able to respond to that particular question. As I mentioned, my machine is not meant for AI, it's meant for software development. So it's not going to be super fast when it comes to some of these responses. So you will bear with me as far as that is concerned. Again, you can see it tells me it's Burj Khalifa, and it's going to tell me a host of other stories. I can stop that generation. And the other thing we said is LLAMA allows you to do natural language processing, which means I can ask it questions directly. So I can click on this icon down here and just speak to it, and it's able to get that, and it's able to do the work. So for example, I can ask it, what is the value of pi? And it should be able to get that converted into text and allow me to be able to process that. Again, it will depend heavily on your accent, but you can see it has actually gotten the text properly, and I'm just able to hit pi, and again, it's going to go through its NLP or rather its inference engine, and try to understand what I'm asking it of. And of course, then it's able to give me some of the response. So it tells me pi is a mathematical constant and all these kinds of things. But then I'll also just let it generate a bit of the text so that now we can be able to look at now how the first I've shown you is how to convert text to speech, how to convert speech to text. Then now we can also use it to convert this text to speech, do the vice versa. So let me allow it to be able to just finish this generation, then we can be able to demonstrate further. Now, I think I'll leave it at that. Then I'll tell it just stop. Then I can tell it, read this thing aloud. So you can see, based on education, I can use it to get instructions verbally or give instructions as it was gotten also verbally and stuff like that. So it can also do things like summarization. I can, tell it to, I can get some very large text like, well, I don't have a large text here, but if I had a very large text and I told it to summarize, it will be able to summarize for me that text in probably a few questions. The other things that it does best is, for example, it can be able to write code. I mean, it's able to do things like writing computer programs and things like that. So, for example, I can tell it, write JavaScript. By the way, it knows what that means. JS function that counts from 1 to 10. I'm assuming this is a student who is learning programming and specifically JavaScript, and they want to know how to write a function which calculates numbers from 1 to 10. So it's able to do that. It's able to write the code for me, and now I can be able to look at it and see that is actually correct and stuff like that. So there's actually quite a lot of things that LLAMA can do for you, as you can be able to see. So again, this allows us to be able to perform a lot of things as far as STEM subjects are concerned. So yeah, it has actually done it correctly, even though personally I would have done it differently, but I can use a for loop, I can use a while loop. I mean, there is quite a lot of options. Like I can tell it, okay, just stop that. I can tell it to use a while loop. For those who understand programming, I mean, it's able to know now, I don't want to use for loop, I want to use a while loop, then it's able to change that, and that will still be able to work fine for me. So you can see when it comes to education, I only need to give it prompts and it's able to perform those particular tasks that I've told it very, very effectively. So those are some of the features that LLAMA has. It can, by the way, it can also do translations. So for example, let me just stop this. I can ask it translate translate mi casa su casa. That's the much Spanish I know anyway. And I know it means that my home is your home or my house is your house or something of that sort. Let me see how accurate that is going to be. Now you can see I've not told it that that is Spanish, but it's, let's see if it's, yeah, you can see it tells me your house, my house, your house. Yeah, mi casa, su casa. Well, literally it has done it correctly. So it's able to generate content, it's able to do translation, it's able to write computer programs, it's able to summarize things, it's able to answer your questions and all these kinds of things. So when it comes to education, it's all about training the model and giving it the data to work with so that now we can be able to see how LLAMA 3.1 can be enhanced towards education. Again, don't worry about the speed of the generation of the content. As I had mentioned, a spoiler alert, my machine is not super powerful, meant for AI, but at least it can be able to perform a few tasks here and there. Okay, so I'll go back to my presentation to just summarize a bit. So what are the future prospects of LLAMA 3.1 in education? One of them is expanding use cases. We want to anticipate further integration of AI in various educational formats and subjects. As you can see, we are looking at STEM from a very large perspective. Sorry. Let me share my screen on, I keep on forgetting that I've not shared my entire screen, right? So when it comes to future prospects of LLAMA 3.1 is expanding use cases. We want to anticipate further integration of AI in various educational formats and subjects. Like we have virtual labs, we want to integrate virtual labs in and use AI to be able to train students on those virtual labs. Then innovative curriculum design, there's a potential for AI to reshape how curricula are developed and delivered. As we have seen, the tools that it gives us, the convergence that it gives us in terms of leveling the playing field, in terms of access to information, in terms of research and all that, there will be some sort of innovation in terms of the curricular design. Then collaborative partnerships, this one will ensure that it encourages collaboration between tech companies and educational institutions to drive AI enhancements. Like right now, we are seeing LLAMA and education. Facebook is working extremely hard. Meta rather is working extremely hard on LLAMA, and they're trying to give us the tools that will enable us to use LLAMA in education. So when it comes to generative AI, when it comes to pattern recognition, when it comes to natural language processing, and all these kind of things, how do you put them all together to solve the problems that we have within the classroom? So that's where the collaboration is going to come in. Then, of course, before I conclude, who are some of the competitors of LLAMA 3.1? LLAMA 3.1 is open source, and by the way, that's what makes it special, which means that I can't be able to download its source code and modify it without permission from Meta. Technically, just like I can go to Ubuntu and download it and modify it. I don't need to purchase a license to be able to use it. Now, all the other or the larger competitors of LLAMA, all of them are closed source, which means I have to purchase some sort of a license to be able to use it. We have Microsoft Copilot is an example of a competitor for LLAMA 3.1. We have Gemini from Google, or people call it Gemini. We also have Grok from XAI. XAI is a company owned by Elon Musk. By the way, he was a partner to OpenAI who owned ChatGPT. Then also Google has something called BAT. So we have quite, we also have Cloudy from Anthropic. So there's actually quite a lot of competition, but all this other competition that you can be able to compare to LLAMA 3.1, all of them are closed source, which means you don't have access to the source code, you can't be able to modify it, and you need permission from the authors to be able to use it, of course, at a fee. So that is one of the things that we need to be able to understand as far as LLAMA competition is concerned. It's always good to mention where the competition comes in so that we are at par in matters in matters scope. Now, so in conclusion, LLAMA 3.1 holds an immense potential to revolutionize education by personalizing learning and also enhancing engagement and promoting equity. So the takeaways for this particular presentation was to emphasize the importance of adopting AI technology to foster an inclusive, adaptable, and effective learning environment. And the future vision here is to advocate for continued exploration of AI in education and to unlock new opportunities for students and educators alike. So this is basically what my presentation was all about. So I think moving forward, I'm going to give the program back to my coordinator, who is Professor Catherine. Then she'll be able to guide us further.
Okay, thank you so much, Richard. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, just show sign of applauding. This has been very wonderful, very informative, very engaging. I don't know what words to use, but this is just nice. We are at 9:31 p.m. I want to, our discussant dropped, and when he tried coming in, it wasn't easy. I don't know if Alphonse has admitted him.
I am coming, Prof.
Great. Now take it up. Take it up. It's your time. Otherwise, Richard, thank you so much from my end. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome, Prof.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Once again, thank you so much, Richard.
the rest of the members, thank you very much. We are aware that so many people out there who are not able to join, but I'm sure something is going to happen so that this same lecture is redone. So maybe I'll just take a few minutes to open the floor. I know it's getting late. I would like to open the floor for any questions, comments. I know it has been long, but at least we may have one or two people to ask one or two questions or give comment. So the floor is open.
Can you have a question? Just unmute and ask.
I wanted to ask a question. Am I being audible?
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Great. Now, thank you so much for the fascinating session. And one of the contentions that we still struggle with in the universities are, accepting, that AI is here, and then possibly taking the opportunity to maximize its use in universities. But there is also the ethical dilemma of students or faculty using AI, to generate content and to assess students and all of that. So to what great extent do you suggest policies for implementing AI into our institutions? And maybe redefining what plagiarism is. So that's a very big struggle. People are still afraid of AI, or students are bundled as, not thinking when they use AI. And I'd like you to address a bit of that.
Yeah.
You're done?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was sorry, I was thrown out, but I'm just coming again. If you can just quickly, the person was on the floor, just highlight what you have said. Was it a question or a comment?
It was a question.
It was a question.
It was a
I can
question.
restate it. Restate it. First,
Very,
I
very
appreciated
please.
the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. I first appreciated, the contributions you have made today, and to actually, affirm that AI is here, it's not going anywhere, and that universities need to embrace it in educational systems. But there is a dilemma still within the universities in how both faculty and students use AI without, blending the human intelligence. So of course, there's a sense of blending in terms of the prompts that they give the AI. To what extent could you suggest policies towards use of AI, and also the mitigation factors of plagiarism? Do we need to redefine plagiarism? To what extent do we measure students' critical thinking, even in use of AI? So I'd really, really like an expansion on that. I'm sure I've restated it differently. I stop there.
Richard, are you able to respond? Because I was thrown out again. I'm sure you are in all through.
Richard, are you still there?
Richard,
yes, I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here.
I have been thrown out again.
I think it's okay. I think I can respond to that. Yes, AI is here, and as the participant has mentioned, it's not going anywhere. Now you can see that when I give student assignments, for example, and I ask them probably go and write for me a program that does X, Y, Z, they can simply go to an AI chatbot, and it's able to generate for them the code, and it writes perfect code. I might not be able to tell whether the student wrote the code or not. I can ask students to write an essay. They'll go to AI, generate the essay, refresh it, and turn it in. It makes it a bit difficult for me to be able to actually achieve that. But then again, we are saying we can't run away from AI. So we need to redefine what plagiarism is all about. Now, what I've seen in some scenarios, what most people do to be able to counter such is they would require you to hand in a handwritten assignment of the same. Now, whether AI generated or whether it is the student's work, the fact that you are going to repeat the exact same things that the AI did, if the AI did it for you, and you have to read it all over again for you to type to write it by hand and turn it in, then it means that that can substitute as original content. So yes, we need to redefine what plagiarism is, but at the same time, we just need to embrace AI and say, what policies do we need to come in with so that we are able to embed AI in the education sector that we have in. Like previously in Kenya, for example, students were not allowed to go into mathematics exams with calculators. But then they realized that it's not about it's not about the additions and the subtractions and the mathematical calculations being done. It's about the principles that the students are learning as far as mathematics are concerned, not just adding the numbers and things like that. So I think that should be able to address that. We will need to redefine how we can be able to use AI into education, and of course, what constitutes plagiarism and what does not constitute plagiarism. Thank you.
Chair, do you see my screen?
Yes, Prof, we can see your screen.
Yeah, so that subject, that topic, that debate, that question will be addressed in details on November the 5th, 2024. We have a lecture presentation primarily focused on that. It will be presented by Dr. Andrei Kopterov, who is very conversant with this field.
Okay. All right. So again, the discussant tells me he was also thrown out. Are you back? Leonard, are you back? All right. Any other question?
Chair, we just wanted to know, it appears that we cannot download this in Kenya, or if it's possible, are we going to be given instructions on how to download the LLAMA 3.1, or do we wait until after all the lectures have been presented?
Thanks, Beatrice. So what you could do at the moment, as I had mentioned, it's not possible for you to run LLAMA 3.1 directly from meta.ai, but we can give you instructions on how to get it up and running on your computer. I will highly suggest that you use the lowest version, which is the 7B version, the 8B version, which is a bit smaller. It's about 4 gigabytes in size, but even that thing in itself at 4 gigabytes large really contains quite a bit of parameters, and it could really slow down your computer. So we'll give you instructions on how to get it up and running on your computer so that you can just play around with it. As you have mentioned, the experience is not going to be wow, because I know that most of our computers are not that powerful, but at least it gives you a near life experience on actually how to play around with it. So I'll be able to provide those instructions as soon as we're done with this particular presentation on how you can actually get to download it, then get the model, then do the web interface, then you can now play with it on your local computer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, I can ask some questions from the chat. There was one which you answered part of it, where somebody was asking whether it is an app or a software. I think you responded and said it's a model, but he went ahead to ask, can it be used to teach biblical language such as Hebrew and Greek?
That's a good one.
Just hold on to it so that I ask another question so that you can answer. You can answer
Okay.
them. Is it integrated with third-party systems? That's another question from the chat. And another one is, to what extent do you suggest? No, I think that's the one that was being asked. I was trying to write it down, which you have responded. Then the next one is, apart from scalability, Does it have specifications on the type of laptop, type of phone that one has to use? I think that's what I've captured from the chat so far.
Okay. Now that's interesting. So first and foremost, LLAMA 3.1 supports about 20 languages, and I don't think Hebrew is one of them, sorry to say. But I know that we have something like Spanish, French, German, Chinese, Russian, Italian, yeah, but I don't think Hebrew is one of them. So for now, sorry, you might not be able to use Hebrew as translation as far as is concerned. It can try to translate Hebrew, but it may not be perfect because it is not built for that particular translation. So yes, you can use it for English and other languages. Yes, for Hebrew, I doubt. Now, is it an app? No, it's not an app. It's a model, which means I will need an app like LLAMA. Then from LLAMA, I will download the model. Then LLAMA will run that model for me. As I have demonstrated, either I can use the command prompt or I can use a web interface to access the same. Do I need a special type of laptop to run it? Yes, you need a very, very special type of laptop. You can run it on your local computer with modest specs, but the experience is not going to be very good. Reason being, how these models work, they are parallel processes, which means there are things that are running parallel. They're running side by side. How our computers are designed is to perform sequential tasks. You're performing one task after the other. So when you are subjecting it to parallel tasks, it means that it has to do one, finish, then do the other one, and so on and so on. So the experience might not be very good. On the mobile phone, forget about it. The power is too low. You might not be able to run unless you really have a very powerful phone, but I would highly discourage you trying to. Actually, I don't even think there's a version of Android, which there's a version of LLAMA running on either Android or iOS, so you might not be able to run it on your mobile device. You can run it on an average computer, but the experience is not going to be good. If you have a computer that has very good memory, like 32 gigabytes, and it has a very good processor, and it has a dedicated graphics processing unit, then that would be a wow. The wow factor would actually be experienced at that particular point. Now, can it be integrated with third parties? Yes, it can be integrated with third parties, and that's why we are learning it. How do we integrate LLAMA with, say, something like a chatbot? I want to create a chatbot where students can be able to learn how to do pronunciation using WhatsApp. I can actually integrate LLAMA into that, and it is able to, play sounds and generate words and pronunciations and so forth and so forth. So it is actually open source, which means you can actually integrate it in other applications that are in place. And for your information, LLAMA is a separate application, and you can see it has actually integrated LLAMA 3.1 within it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you've already answered some questions that had just come up about open access. It's answered. Okay. Integration with the learner management system is another question.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so as I said, yes.
Can it be integrated into learner management system?
Yes, it's able to be integrated. As we have said, it is open source and it's API based, which means you just need, well, maybe we can try to have a session on how the integration takes place so that maybe the learners can be able to get the experience. But the simple answer is yes, it can be integrated.
Okay. Now, there was an interesting one. It's not really a question, but somebody was saying that the lecture is very interesting, very informative, but can there be a manual? And can there be a session where we have practical class, a practical session for them to understand better?
I think that one Professor Alphonse can tell us, but I am ready and willing to assist on the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair.
Maybe, Chair, if I can just add something small before perhaps I'm thrown out. There was this question on whether it can run on a mobile phone or not. Yes. Every effort is being made. We will be surprised in the next few couple of months when it's actually running on a mobile phone, because every effort is being made to do that, particularly in terms of memory, making sure that it's memory efficient.
Okay.
Thank you. And then in terms of learning, is basically about programming, as Richard will tell you. So if one has some interest or passion, basically it's just passion, and you can easily learn how to implement this.
Thank you so much.
Then, of course, in the same vein, as it is said, the greatest gift that God has given us during this era is the internet. You can learn so much from the internet, YouTube specifically. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think from the chat, the rest are just comments about good presentation, nice initiative, and so on. Any other question from the participants?
Some hands are raised.
Oh, okay. I can't see it from my end. Okay, I can see a hand here.
149 people registered.
I can't put it to a name. Please proceed. The hand that I saw up, please go ahead and ask your question.
No.
Mine was up, but I dropped it because we said we are coming to that. I was going to talk about the concern about plagiarism and how we handle the students. And I was going to say that, okay, let me say it now that even before, students had access to different sources of information. If you reflect backwards, when you were in school, sometimes it would be the teacher only who had the textbook so that you can listen to what the teacher says, and then you answer questions and you write whatever you're supposed to do. Then you're judged from there. But now we have libraries, and then you say, okay, close your books and now do this. But now we cannot control AI and information is everywhere. So I believe this is one of the wake-up calls for us to say now we are, as educators, we are supposed to change how we lead our students to do proper learning, even with all these developments, that they can have texts, tasks done for them, but how we make them interact with that content to get the output that we need and learning to take place. That's what we are supposed to focus on as educators. But there are other hands also. I don't know. There was Jenna Diambo and there is Professor Christopher.
Okay.
The ones I'm seeing from my
hand, what I wanted to add was that with AI in place, we really need to then now ask ourselves, what exactly are we assessing students in? Because if we are assessing students on content, they can easily generate that content using AI. Then our assessment now needs to be very different. But then the question that also comes, and I get a lot, is that now when you want to test differently, like their oral skills on the same, to speak about what they have generated, are you able to measure the competencies that you want them to learn apart from content generation? And then, of course, with the idea of large classes, especially in the universities, the question of how practicable is that? So there's quite a lot of dilemma with AI, especially students applying their mind to whatever it is that we are developing. What competencies, what skills are we developing in our teaching? What outcomes do we set? Yeah, so I think basically, so our assessment should not just generally ask students to generate content, but how do they apply their mind, their opinion, their experiences into the data and content they develop? So I think that's another area that as educators, we really need to think ahead of AI, so it doesn't beat us and replace us, as many people would say.
Very true.
Yeah,
that's a very good observation, Dr. Jen.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, D. I can
Yeah,
only
this
see you on
David.
my end. Proceed.
Now, just wondering aloud, how can we help use this one to create critical thinking skills in the learners? Because always when the mind is stretched a little bit, it becomes when you want to sharpen, you have to challenge. So how can we use this to teach critical thinking skills in the learners? Then two, the future of AI when it comes to assessment, because assessment has been a challenge. And today you see the teachers, like in Kenya, for example, teachers are now given the power to assess the learners. How do we now get the true picture of the learners without, giving the true picture of the learners, that is, of the learners? Because at times people tend to play around with assessment. Thank you.
You want to respond to that? Yeah, but yes. I think these are great insights that are just coming up. I think, as somebody said earlier, this is a wake-up call. This is just now a realization that we can't run away from AI. What needs to be done is just to see how to use it. What is important is how we're going to use it. Like somebody is asking of what use it is to junior and primary. Let me just read the question. The Gaddafi, I can't pronounce the name well. Thanks for the great session. I'm quite disturbed by the compatibility issues raised. And then it brings out the question, what was the target group at its development when LLAMA 3.1 is being developed or was being developed? What was the target group? And how helpful is this going to be for a primary and junior school students besides the teaching content generation? So it's actually raising a lot of questions. But as somebody said, the thing is so dynamic. In fact, this LLAMA 3.1, I think the experts were telling us it came up on market in July this year, and already LLAMA 3.2 is out within a span of 3 months. LLAMA 3.2 is already out. So things are so dynamic. But again, as we get into it, so many questions arise, and maybe it is still the same LLAMA that will answer those questions. To you, Leonard, I think you have something to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. Marks, before I say anything, I've seen a hand up there for questions right now, Professor Christopher.
Okay. Let Prof ask.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to appreciate the lectures. It was very, very rich, and I'm learning a lot. I hope as we progress in the, to the various lessons, we are going to learn more, as I've heard about the 5th of November. Anyway, I'm going to participate fully. So
thank you.
My question now is really a question because it has already been asked. My concern now is, are we really sure, though it was somehow answered, are we really sure the AI is not coming to replace, take the place of human beings? Because there are so many people who have these fears, and they're thinking that the AI is coming to replace human beings. So could you please give me a clarification again on this? Because I know you already said something about it. I did not really capture it, and that is why I wish to capture it better. Thank you.
Yeah, can I make a response?
Yes, Alphonse, come in. You can jump in.
That question is fundamental. And that question is global. The risk of AI taking over humanity is real. So now the conversation is, since we have to coexist with AI, since we can't stop it, since we need it, how do we coexist? How do we make sure, in a simple terminology, how do we make sure it does not go out of hand? People have discussed possibilities of AI declaring war, wars of extermination, without human beings being even aware. Now, these discussions, by the way, are not very speculative. They are based on looking at what is there now, what will be there in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and what the end is likely to be. So the threat is there. The threat is it's feasible. So the discussion now is this: what can we do to be able to keep in control, to monitor, to control, so that we leverage the affordances of AI, at the same time mitigate its limitations, and make sure the quality of education progresses, and make sure society is stable and continues the way it should be. Now, the lead is now in the hands of the European Union. I think Richard mentioned about the AI Act. There was an act of parliament in the European Union. It came out on the 1st of August this year, 2024 August. It's just the other day. Now, that act of parliament is the most ambitious decision that has been made anywhere on the planet. The European Union is now ahead of every other nation. And what they are calling upon, what they are calling for, is what has in recent years been referred to as human oversight over artificial intelligence. But now it has even grown bigger. It's now called governance. In other words, how do we create structures and systems and laws and regulations that are global? Because you can't manage this in a school. You can't manage this in a district, not even at the level of a republic. It's global. The threat, the risks that can be brought about by AI are global. And they are so serious, they are existential. Leave alone the quality of education, leave alone employment. For example, somebody was saying, where do employees go when AI is in charge and has taken over all the jobs?
Yeah,
so
fundamental questions.
That is now where the conversation is at the highest level. In fact, the conversation is no longer about whether AI can do magical things. No. The conversation is not about the potential of AI in terms of tools. Those tools are there, and guess what? AI is teaching itself. And it is learning faster, much faster than human beings can ever learn. As it is now, these machines are said to be much more intelligent than we are. Last night I was reading an article, and the report now is that the latest information in research, this is not speculation, this is research. AI has an IQ of 120. Now, as you all know—
You are dropping off, Alphonse.
Sorry. I was saying that the other day I was reading an article about AI, and the latest report is that we now have a robot that has an IQ of 120.
Oh, no.
120. We human beings have only 90. In other words, these robots are already ahead of us.
They're in Kenya, serving in hotels in Kenya.
There you go. So that question is fundamental. That question is global. And as we go through this, and maybe we approach November, our focus is going to end up there.
Yes.
Exactly about human oversight and about
governance.
And
governance, exactly.
Thank you, Chair.
Leonard, there's still another question in the chat. What makes LLAMA 3.1 stand out as a better and unique AI to use in education sector, besides the others already in the market?
What one can say is about the efficiency, particularly in terms of memory management. And I remember the issue of whether we can run LLAMA on mobile phone or not came up, and I did mention that very soon it will be possible, because that's what now the developers of the tool are working on. So that's what is actually starting out.
Okay.
Maybe just to comment on what Prof said. Okay, there's still another hand. Professor Christopher. You can go ahead, Prof.
No, thank you. I already asked my
The
question.
hand,
I'm
I
sorry.
think the hand still is up, but it's already asked.
Hello.
Okay,
Okay.
let me take it.
Now, okay, fine. Now,
Hello.
what I would like to, yes.
There's somebody,
Hello.
somebody saying hello, yes.
Yes. Hello. I have this
Go
to
on.
make before you comment on professors. Now, you know, in our life, man are looking for leverages. Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying in life, in any research, you're looking for a leverage. That's the focus.
Yes.
And to me, is a great leverage. Because if the argument is, what others can do for you, you should not do it.
Yes.
From a economic perspective, what others can do for you, you should not bother to do it. If others can do it for you, and you do something that can make can give a better return. So what I think an emphasis on is just the ethical part of it. You need to come up with strong ethics to govern the use of AI. Otherwise, it's the way to go. There's no shortcut.
Thank you very much, Prof. I basically was also just going to talk about that. AI, basically, as people imagine out there that it's possible for AI to have, or let's say you have created or built a robot which is having more IQ than a human being. That's not possible. Why we say it's not possible is because AI entirely depends on data. Now what we call big data. So if we don't have data, AI is not there. It's not possible. For example, if you want to confirm that AI entirely depends on data, just go and ask, there's this tool called Ask AI. Post a question. It will answer very quickly and give you the reference, all the references. If you post a question that has no data anywhere in the world, there will be no answer that will be given to you. So that shows complete that AI, in terms of intelligence, cannot match a human being. So what we must then guard against, as colleagues have suggested, is governance, and then now the quality of the data that we are using. So the issue of cybersecurity comes in, because if somebody interferes with that data that AI is going to pick, that these models are going to pick and give us, then we are done. For example, let's say you are flying from point A to point B, and then the tool says, okay, fine, press this button instead of pressing the other button, and then you press the wrong button. You are all dead. So what is worrying us is how to make sure that the data that AI, these models are using is of high quality, not interfered. The integrity is not interfered. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any other question? If we don't have any other question, then we can.
You can allow me to make just one comment.
Pardon?
I was, if you can allow me to just make
Leonard,
one comment.
you're breaking. You're breaking, Leonard.
Oh, I don't know what I can do not to break. I'm saying, Chair, if you can allow me to make a comment on behalf of the members who are not able to join.
Yes.
The webinar. If we consider it enough, we should actually organize this same webinar for the sake of those who are not able to join this webinar. In fact, I was in the call for and
actually we've just been chatting.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there are so many who wanted to join, but something just happened with the account, the Zoom account. We don't know what it is. You experts of IT will tell us, maybe we'll look into it. But we've been side chatting with Alphonse. We are definitely going to do a makeup of this particular lecture. We just want to implore on our presenter, Richard, to amass more energy so that before the second lecture, we may do a makeup of this so that those who miss, and they were very eager. People were very eager to join, but it was a disappointment that somehow the number was capped at 100 and they could not join. So it's between tomorrow and Friday, there could be a makeup. We'll make an announcement on the wall. So I believe they will still benefit. And then now we also have the recording of the same. Actually, that was going to be my announcement towards the end. So it's good you even brought it up. So we are saying we're going to do a makeup presentation or webinar or a lecture for those who missed.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's a lot of comments on the wall just saying it will be nice. And then we will use the same link for the next training. We're going to improve also on the link. I think there was also some confusion. I think 2 versions of the links were sent and it brought about a bit of confusion. So even if we had succeeded with the numbers, still that link would have actually affected us. So members, I want to make another announcement apart from the makeup lecture, that just once again, this series is going to run until December, I think 17th, and we're going to be doing it every week. We have 3 main facilitators. We have Richard, who has opened it up so well. He has actually unpacked it for us. So we'll now usher in Dr. Leonard, who has been the discussant today. And then we have Dr. Andre from Sam Houston State University, who will also be a presenter for, I think, 6 lectures. So stay tuned. The certificates will be there, but for only those who will complete the training. If you are dropout, then you don't get a certificate. So if you stay in and stay put until the last lecture of 17th December, you'll get a certificate for this training. And again, this is for 2024 series. Come 2025, again, we'll come up with a new schedule for other lectures with different topics. So again, if you are among us and you are an expert in IT, you can always put in your name so that you can be on the list of presenters.
Okay,
I think there is somebody, I've seen a hand come up and down. I don't know if somebody wanted to say something.
Chair, before the hand, you are talking of if you attend all lectures, but there's some who are just being thrown out, like the co-discussant, he didn't want to walk out. He was just being thrown in and out. So how do we make sure that?
No, we are going to stabilize. We are going to stabilize. We've learned our lessons today. We'll find out what the problem was. We will change maybe from Zoom to something else or a different account.
Okay.
Yeah, we have alternative accounts. I believe even this week when we do the makeup, it is going to be much, much better with the high attendance. We're going to open it up. So even when you join and you are thrown out, it will be like you are in. So you'll still get your certificate.
Okay, Chair, thank you and good night. And
so,
Alphonse, we have not spoken for 2 years. Please have a very good evening.
Same to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Beatrice, you are here. Before you go, then I think I'll ask you to move a word of thanks for our presenter for the good work that he has done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. May I take this opportunity to say a big, big thank you to the presenter, to the discussant, and to all the participants. Sorry, you cannot see my face. I had, so I don't want to tell you. However, I'm fine. And please, let's hope that our next lecture, we will all be able to attend and it will be as smooth as it was today. Indeed, I joined about 15 minutes late, but have really, really enjoyed the lecture. And I think I have understood almost 80%. So I want to say thank you once again and just wish you God's blessings. Thank you so much and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shikuku. That's my chair
Thank
of
you very
department.
much.
Professor Ndiku, how are you?
Very fine, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, it's masomo tuendelee pole pole. I know that is new to Furuma. Sorry.
Yes, how are you doing?
Yeah.
People, I think you're free to leave at your own pleasure. You can still interact, say something if you still have
Thanks so much.
energy.
Thanks so much, Dr. Aura.
Thank
And
you.
the
You're
team,
welcome.
thanks so much for this good
You're welcome.
presentation.
You're welcome.
Be blessed.
You're welcome.
Catherine.
Thank you too. Yes.
Sorry, I dropped off and came back in. I don't know whether I missed something.
Professor Benga.
As we were closing, hello everybody.
Professor Benga, thank you for coming in and
the
attending.
question I want to ask is, when are we having the next one? Not the repeat. And then when are we getting, I saw a text there that we will get the recording or the transcription or the presentation, so that
good question.
We need something to fall back on.
Alphonse,
as revision before the next lesson.
Yes, it will be there maybe in the next 1 or 2 days. So you'll have the recording. With permission from the presenter, we can share the PowerPoint. Also, Professor Lahan Yadav from University of Rwanda, how are you? I can see you there.
Yes, madam. Thank you very much. It was a nice presentation, and thank you very much for arranging these seminars.
Thank you
So
for attending.
We wish the good presentations ahead. This was very nice presentation. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for being there. We feel honored.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, so let's end the session with the assurance that you'll get the recording, and please be good student, attend all the classes until December.
We'll try our best.
Thank you, Chair, and good night.
Good night. Good afternoon to those in the
Good night.
diaspora in
Good
US
night to you,
and UK.
Thanks so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Richard, are you still there? Good, I can see you.
Yeah, it will be good for us to.
Yeah, he's still there.
To talk a little bit.
Okay. Even Leonard has not dropped.
Yeah, I think he has really messed me up.
Yes, I'm still here.
Nice, nice.
We have some little business to do.
I think we need to have some discussion to plan for the next session, and even the makeup, we see whether it's feasible, and if it is, then we agree on the day so that we can start announcing and putting some sense of hope in those who missed.
Yeah, and I think we need to do it immediately.
But we mitigated immediately when I asked you to write and you wrote, and then now I gained the strength now to also join in and write something on the wall. A majority of them appreciated that. So I think not all is lost.
Yeah. So this is what I'm proposing.
Yes.
So perhaps Alphonse, before you go ahead, maybe we can request our colleagues who are not part of the three of us to drop off.
Yeah, they're dropping off slowly.
Yeah.
We are now at 15. You know, sometimes some people, when the session is coming to an end, they get engaged in something else.
Yeah, and they forget.
And then they forget to log out. Hi, Kentis. Thank you for turning up. Kentis, hi.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for turning up.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
apologize for the mishap that was there, but we're going to make up for it. The next one is gonna be seamless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Felix.
you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome, Kentis, and good night.
Good night.
Still have a long list.
Yeah, there's still many.
Yeah. Richard, you should not drop.
He must be tired.
Yeah, very tired.
He must be tired. But that was a wonderful presentation. You've started us very well.
Thank you.
You pitched it high, so
The next presenter is in problems.
nobody will blame you that you started us on a low whatever.
Oh, no, not.
No. You pitched
Thank you,
it
that's okay.
well.
Okay.
You maintained the participants. It's apart from one or a few whose internet was dropping and they would drop and come back. We maintained the number of 90 to 96 almost throughout up to the end.
Wow, that is nice. I didn't notice that.
I was checking. I like checking on
Okay.
the numbers. So
Okay.
we maintained the number throughout to the end. To me, that
Okay.
was that is telling. Yeah, that is quite telling, and we just want to continue appreciating. You know, they always say, as teachers, we always say the start of the lesson is very important. Lesson induction. How you induct it matters a lot on how you're going to captivate your students. So you captivated as well, and I want to believe we are on the right track. We shall move on well. Johnson, Cyprian, Felix, Mildred, maybe you could log out. We want to have a small meeting of the organizers. Our ski, they're not.
I think maybe they have just left without signing out.
Yes, that's what I'm suspecting. So we could just proceed. You could just.
So, Chair, I will say very little because I was in the call for 95% of the time. I was so frustrated, but I almost gave up. But then
What
towards the end,
what happened?
When I tried, I saw like now the host can let me in. I was shocked because it was just going in circles, asking me for the passcode, asking me so many things, feeling what.
And you know, you are not the only one. I also have a friend from Kibabi, Rose Mutende. She was in very much. Then she dropped. Now I just discovered she had sent me a message saying she's dropped and now she wants to come in. And now the system is asking for a passcode.
Passcode, yes.
Yeah, we had, I think, over 700 people.
Yes.
Locked out.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
oh my God, we had reached 814.
Yeah.
The last I saw was 760 something.
No, it was.
Now the number has hit 814.
Yeah.
And even with the disappointment, they have not left the wall.
Yeah, the last time I checked, we still had 806.
Oh my.
Yeah.
It's showing 804, but I think some have left. Some are being recorded as past participants.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. Now we need to plan ahead before we sleep.
So First of all, of course, I have to check on IT to see what exactly went wrong. But we even had other minor issues like the one you mentioned. And also I noticed that even the admission was too slow. I was admitting like one person by one. Clicking every time. I mean, I spent like an hour clicking. So what I'm proposing is use the Sam Houston Zoom link, which was available to us. We could have used it. It's only that I did not expect, given the way we have used this before, I do not expect a problem. So I would suggest that next time we just use the Sam Houston Zoom link. That's a link belonging to a huge institution.
Yes.
We should not have any issue at all.
Yes.
So that would be, obviously we're going to find out what went wrong. But do you know, even our website collapsed this morning for about half an hour. Yes.
So there's a problem somewhere.
Half an hour. I discussed it with Richard. Then when he went to check again, when he checked first, it was still off. When he checked again, it was back and running. Luckily enough, that was very early in the morning. So anyway, the one way of being sure, first of all, the speed, the stability, and the capacity is to use the Sam Houston Zoom link. We have access to.
Okay.
So that
you tell them the membership that we have. You never know,
no,
maybe
we don't want to tell them. They don't even, I mean, have access to the Zoom link. Dr. Andre can send the link. I can send the link, and we don't even have to ask them. The link, we are free to use it whenever we.
Okay. Then that will be fine. Oh, if we had known this one will disappoint us, would have just used that right now.
As late as this morning. So
wow.
That one
me, it came as a shocker. I went into shock when somebody just wrote there. I was wondering because I knew people were so eager. Then I saw the number was not like. Then it moved. Then when it hit 99 up to 100, then it stopped.
It would hit 99. It would hit 100, and
then it comes to 99.
Down by 3, then you go back to 100. Then I said there is a problem here.
For me, I hadn't even suspected anything. I was just like, you mean only 100 people have been able to log in with all that excitement, and people were so enthusiastic until now somebody wrote on the wall. That's when now it hit me. I didn't even want to look at that wall. That's why I kept on telling you in your inbox, please go and write something.
It was very frustrating. It was. Very
yeah.
Very frustrating.
So then the second.
Anyway, those are lessons learned.
Yeah. A hard one. And those are the best.
So is like now the one you're suggesting, the link you're suggesting, will it still require that the host must admit those ones to enter, or there's a way where people just enter automatically?
All of that goes with the settings.
Yeah, the settings should be made such that people just come in.
I think even today, I mean, and a few days ago, we did not do the settings properly. I tried to go through them with Richard. We thought everything was okay, but apparently there was something we did not work on well. So this time we'll do the settings carefully, and make sure that
they're in good time.
Yeah. I will work on it with Richard.
So makeup lecture. Now that one is dependent on Richard. Richard is the one to guide us.
Is Richard here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Rich, you're still here. Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, I really think this is a long journey we are on. It's not like it's just one lecture and it's over. So we need, first of all, to make sure that the wealth of this lecture reaches everybody that wishes to participate. But two, we've got to build trust between us and the participants. And the only way of doing it is to show that we have rectified the issue. And the only way to do it is to have another session. I mean, we could put on the video recording. I even have the summary. It does not address the fundamental issue.
No.
So we need to redo it. We have to redo it. And that has to be before Monday.
So the next one, if I may ask, the next one is when? Is the next week?
The next one is on the 7th.
7th. Monday, Monday
day.
next week. Is it Monday?
Okay.
Yes.
Monday. So what it means that then we can do this makeup latest Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, latest Friday.
And may I suggest Friday? I don't know whether Richard is.
Is Richard still with us?
Friday.
Hello, Richard.
He's still around, but
Let me see.
just call. Let me just call him.
He's here, but his microphone is off. Hello, Richard. Hello.
Let me just call him. Let me just call him.
He's still in. I mean, I can
Yes, I'm here, but in noisy place, I've said Friday is okay.
Richard,
Okay,
we
it's
are
Friday.
proposing that we do a repeat on Friday at 8.
Yeah, that's okay. I've just said that Friday is okay, yeah?
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, fine. Fine, that's okay.
I am going to contact you so that we can fix the Zoom issue.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
But you call me after a few minutes because I'm headed home, man.
I beg your pardon?
I'm saying maybe you give me a few minutes. I'm on my way home, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
And thank you for the presentation, man. That was great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
then that's okay.
Anything else?
So then it means, then it means then you just have to reach out to the members on the whole, because I can see there are very many.
Yeah.
On what we have agreed.
Yeah.
We can do that.
We don't
We
lose
we will communicate. They'll be aware of that, and
Dr.
I'm sure they will attend. The attendance will be okay.
Yes, I would recommend going forward, we just get one document to send out from beginning to end.
We do what?
We prepare one document that has all the information that we want to share with participants. One document.
I will give you that assignment, Alphonse.
Okay.
Do the write-up. You can share before we throw it there.
I will work with Richard. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that we send out, I mean, we don't send out documents that become confusing, and then maybe that's how we ended up having two different links at the same time, that kind of thing.
And now that the numbers are gonna stabilize, now there'll be fewer posts. You know, we were forced to keep sending the link and the message and the posters, you know, so many times, because people were still coming in.
Yeah.
So I believe now moving forward, there'll be fewer, because we'll have now maybe reached the saturation point of membership. So that confusion might also not be there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Final question. Dr. Catherine.
Yes?
Do we have a flyer for next Monday?
It can be done. We still have days.
No, I mean, I think it's a question of a decision. Do we need one?
That was my thinking. Remember, I told you I wanted to have 3
Yeah.
separate individual flyers. So now the one for Andre should be up. Then now the next one now will be for Leonard.
Okay.
Yeah, and then now after we have now the structure will be the same. Now we shall have them, just we shall be changing the topic.
dates.
Like when Richard will come to present, his poster will just still be the same, but now the topic will change.
Do we have this gentleman?
Yeah.
Will this gentleman be able to do it in time?
He will.
With the flyers.
He will.
Okay.
It's just Andrew's passport that I haven't shared with him, which I have. I have Andrew's passport. The one for Leonard I shared, but Leonard was to get me a discussant.
Oh, I should get you.
So you get it so that now as he finishes the one for Andrew, he picks up yours immediately. Your first one is on which date?
Just so far. Is it 15 or let me just.
Yeah, so you get me your discussant. I already have sent your passport to him and your bio, so it's just by Friday it should be out. Tomorrow is Wednesday, even by Thursday. The one for Andrew should be out by Thursday. You'll ask him to give us a discussant?
I can do that.
Yeah, so if he can give us a discussant, which means we'll need the passport size photo of the person and a brief bio. Just a small 100, even 50 words of the same. If they can send that
So
tomorrow,
my first one will be on here.
the flyer should be out on Thursday, latest Friday.
Okay. Otherwise, mine will be, the first one will be 15th.
15th. So yours will be ready,
15th,
will be out. Yours will be out next week, your flyer.
Okay, fine.
Good.
Okay, I think we are done. Jeff, you can go to the evening.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's remain as a team. Let's work and bring this training to a good end. So it's a good sacrifice. You can see how interested people are. You can see it has been attended by so many nationalities, Rwanda, Cameroon, US, where I think I even had somebody from Ethiopia. Yeah, there were 2
I
people.
did see Professor Moses.
Professor?
I did see Professor Moses Poipoi.
I don't know, now from my end, I could not see all the names. I was unable, because now I was concentrating on so many things, the wall, the other side, trying to assure people, trying to
So you
take
better reach out to him
because
it's listed here. You better reach out to him down.
The what?
It's listed here. Just reach out. Professor Moses Poipoi.
Yeah.
Reached out what may have happened.
Yeah. I didn't see him because I would even have introduced him. I didn't see him. I'll find out.
Yeah, just find out.
Mm.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think we can drop off.
Okay. And remember, this role of the chair is rotational, so we will be rotating. So I'm not a permanent chair.
No problem.
Yes, when you're not presenting, you can always jump in and chair until we reach the end.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. Good night, people.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Richard is laughing when I said that he'll be a chair. Okay. Bye.
So I'm going to send that message right now.